It's an NBA Monday. Two more games to discuss today, and we are live talking NBA playoffs on Fast Break Bets, presented by DRF Sportsbook. If you are in the state of Iowa, head right now to DRF Sportsbook and sign up. Use our promo code FAST1000. It'll get you up to a $1,000 deposit match. Use that promo code FAST1000. Sign up now with that promo code and get involved. We'll take a look at the lines tonight for the two NBA games over at DRF Sportsbook. Erik, let me make these a little bit bigger so that way everyone can take a look with us, because we open up tonight with Knicks at the Heat. We have the Lakers hosting the Golden State Warriors, and we will take a little dive into Thrive Fantasy. Also, that's a daily fantasy website that you need to take a look at, and you need to use that promo code GINO when you deposit. More about Thrive Fantasy after. We'll talk about the props, but let's sort of recap what's been going on over the last few days. So yesterday, a very eventful day, and in the early game, you were right, and we both were on the Sixers side, and an amazing game because we, through the years of talking with you, have given a lot of crap to Doc Rivers, James Harden, Joel Embiid. Warranted a lot of the time. I think you're probably a little harder on those particular three. I mean, maybe you just like them less than I do, but everything that you say is pretty valid. I have, I guess, different players that I bother me a little bit more, or my particular ones that gripe me. But yesterday was amazing, right? Because James Harden has maybe his two best playoff games we've seen in this series, in games 1 and 4, like ever in his entire career. And they started going through a lot of his stats of like how many 30-point playoff games and stuff he's had. A lot for a guy who still has not showed up in big moments. And then his games 2 and 3 were miserable. Yesterday, Joel Embiid late in the game,
out of shape.
It was a combination of out of shape and like he looked like a guy who got a little bit nervous and got the yips, got like scared. PJ Tucker had to come and like talk to him and try to pump him up. We saw Harden hit the game winner, be the best player on the court, and late in the game, Embiid cratered. It was just, there was so much going on there when I was watching and thinking about it. It was unbelievable.
I mean, there's so many different angles to that game you can kind of look at. Number one, someone made an interesting quote to me a couple of years ago. It said, NBA is the only sport where you can really bet narratives.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And as soon as what Harden is doing for that kid from Michigan State, I mean, anyone that says anything bad about him, just read that article. He's helped paying medical bills. You know, he's taking him to that game and everything. It's truly remarkable what he's doing. And as soon as I read that kid was going to be there, that's when I locked in Harden top score, just because I knew he was going to look to go after it.
Who gave that out yesterday too as a possible play here on the stream?
I think it was Let's Make Money,
which was a fantastic call, and great job.
I look to do that. Embiid. The one thing about NBA players is the human body is not built to be 285 pounds and a lot of muscle. And you can kind of tell, like, I don't know, like I made the out of shape comment, out of shape. Maybe he's banged up, but he looked tired, sore, and nervous. Joel Embiid did the last 5 minutes to the close of the game. Tatum, you know, he did that little bit of a run to get them close to tie the game up. But then to close the game and in overtime, there really wasn't anything.
And you know what? I was listening to Bill Simmons, who him and Ryan Russillo always have their weekend podcast on Sunday night, and they kind of recap everything. And Simmons will say some things I agree with, don't agree with, plenty. But when it comes to the Celtics, he really knows the Celtics. That's his team. He was talking about like some stats that he saw, or like late in the game, in like crunch time, in the last 2 minutes of games over the last couple years, Marcus Smart has as many shots as Tatum and Brown combined. it's like the
But
ball always finds him. He'll take the big shots, right? It does seem like the ball finds him a lot of the time.
That's because he's not scared of the moment.
Absolutely. For
He's
good and for
just
bad, right?
yeah. And I mean, but those are the kind of the people that you need to have in your lineup. You need to have those guys that aren't scared, that will like go after the moment, so to speak. I really feel that the one thing about Tatum and Brown is sometimes they get a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Passive in those big moments. I don't understand some stuff Boston was doing. You know, the coach has gone on record saying he likes to have timeouts. Okay, that's fine. You like to have timeouts toward the end of the game. Why aren't you then using the timeouts at the end of the game? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
You can't keep them. You can't take them with you for next week. You know,
understand why he didn't use that timeout. Jaylen Brown made an awful defensive play where he rotated off Harden to lead open him for a three.
You start to see with him more and more, and this happened last year as the Boston Celtics got deeper and deeper. Man, he's fantastic. And some games he's incredible. He's so sloppy with the ball as a ball handler. And he's gotten better at it. It's improved throughout the year than where it was at the end of last year. But it's one of those things, Erik, for a lot of these players, they work on all these things in the offseason. They get better and they improve on things. But when you get deeper into these playoffs and you're tired and you're a little hurt and other teams know you, you start to do the things that are natural to you, right? You start to kind of revert back to the things that are you're good at or you're bad at. And like, so your innate habits come out again. And that's sort of where we are at this point in all these series now that are moving on. Tonight, we're going to have a couple game fours, and then the others will be moving on past game four. At this point now, you sort of know who everybody is. And it starts to come down to like some minor adjustments and then just like the will of the better players.
Yeah. And there's a couple defensive rotations that Embiid didn't even like rotate. I mean, there's one time where Tatum finished at the rack and he could have just took 2 steps over there. Granted, you're leaving Al Horford open in the corner, but I'd rather have Al Horford an open corner shot than Tatum with an opportunity to finish. You know, kind of like a real sloppy game. Sixers were up big. They got a little sloppy with the ball. It wasn't moving as well. Yeah, it was just a weird game. It was just a real weird game. But you know what? I will say this. I think this was one of the ones that I did where you were out. Brown points over. He averages over 30 points after every time the Celtics lost.
Always
so that's going to be one bet that's going to be one bet I'm going to be looking to do.
So the second game yesterday, lots of drama in that one. The Phoenix Suns beat the Denver Nuggets. Landry Shamet has a fantastic game. And yeah, I'm actually mentioning him first because while Booker and Durant were incredible and they've been incredible, if they don't get 19 from Landry Shamet hitting 5 of 8 from 3, they don't win that game. Period. Yep. Like you need him in that spot. And it's kind of ironic because that's where Chris Paul probably would have been, right? A lot of those shots are probably Chris Paul shots if Paul's playing and Landry Shamet probably isn't getting 30 minutes. He got a DNP earlier in this series. But Booker right now, I believe he scored the most points since any player through this point of the playoffs since Michael Jordan in like 91 or something like that. It's unbelievable what he's doing from just a shooting standpoint. It's unsustainable. But you got to give it up to him when he continues to shoot this well again. And he's playmaking too, right? He's making the right plays. He had 12 assists in the game. So he was only 14 of 18 from the field. He only missed 4 shots. He was 3 of 4 from 3. He took 6 free throws, but he had 12 assists to go with his 36 points. He was very good there. Durant was awesome. He had 36. But like we had said with the series, they need those two guys to have that. Jokic almost outdueled them himself with his 53. But now this is a series. For as much as Denver does look like the deeper, better team, you're now down to a 3-game series with 2 really good players who could very easily catch heaters.
Yeah, my comments with this are I think the Suns are playing different with no Paul.
Yeah.
They are pressing the
Faster.
pace. They're looking, yep, a lot faster, getting up and down the court. That's number one. Number two, with the Nuggets, the ball wasn't moving as much. It's
Nope.
way too much two-man game with Murray and Joker.
Yep.
Need to get those other pieces involved. That's when the offense is the best.
I'm gonna attack tomorrow. KCP. They actually mentioned KCP as someone who they want to take a lot more threes. I think he was 0 for 2 from 3. Like they want KCP. He should be shooting 7 or 8 threes because most of them are wide open. He's
And
not
that
taking
forces,
any threes
they're
off the
hiding,
dribble, right?
yeah,
At
they're
all.
hiding those guys, Booker, Payne, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Durant. So, I mean, you got to force them to close. Woj just tweeted out that no suspension, thankfully, for Joker.
Great. Yeah.
Look, I think that's the right call. I mean,
Yeah.
like everyone's talking about that. You look at it, the owner, Matt, hit the ball out of Joker's hand, put his hand on Joker's waist. Now, Eddie Johnson is kind of funny to me. He's like the ultimate
Suns guy.
I mean, he is the biggest Suns homer in the world, and he's on Twitter calling for a suspension. It's pretty comical when you follow Eddie with the crap he does, but I don't think he should have been suspended.
You shouldn't.
I think it was wrong.
Yeah.
On both players' parts, but I mean, if we're gonna put Joker under a microscope, we need to put the owner Matt
Ishbia.
Yep, under a microscope too, just because he hit the ball off the hand when Joker had it. He had his hand on Joker's waist. Like it's just it needs to be consistent. Like is that, and they didn't. He should have been kicked out too. If you're gonna give Joker a T, he should have been kicked out.
Send him up to the press box. You know what I mean? Send him up to his owner's box. Like he grabbed so initially the ball bounces and like it's in his hands. And Okogie was on the floor. So you could see he's holding the ball and he looks over because one of his players is on the floor. And I think he was truly like looking over at Okogie for a second. But then Jokic obviously comes up and grabs the ball from him. You just don't do anything. When a player comes to get the ball, you don't hold on to the ball. You're not involved. It doesn't matter if Jokic was going to take it and run and go get on a fast break and have an advantage against your team. That's the referee's call to make because the ref's got to touch the ball. It's not like Jokic is just going to go and run with it. The referee's going to get the ball, wait, let Okogie get back up, and then start the play. But Ishbia totally grabbed it back from him, and he tried, and then he flopped, and everyone was playing the funny memes of like Chris Paul teaching Ishbia how to flop and how to sell it, and it was dramatic. It was a fantastic offensive game, but watching that game too, I mean, you had great players with great offense. The defense was bad. The rotations, like you said. With Phoenix playing a little faster, Denver just seemed like they had no idea what to do with some of their rotations defensively.
And I will say this: I will give Ishbia credit after the game. He sent a tweet out, great win, blah 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 blah.
Don't suspending
or fining anyone over last night's incident would not be right. So I mean, I'll give him all the credit in the world.
Yeah. So. Anything else you want to talk about from yesterday? Now that both of those series are tied up 2-2, we've got both teams heading to the I favored the higher seed team because I guess Phoenix was actually favored in the series over Denver, even though Denver has game 7, would have game 7 at home. So we're going back to Denver. We're going back to Boston.
And I mean, just looking at it, shot quality, graded that a $118, $113 win for the Nugs. So,
they're going to start. It's inevitable unless Devin Booker is just broken basketball, and we find out that he's going to have the greatest run we've ever seen a player have ever.
It's literally, I mean, the Nugs are laying 5, and I hate that number, but I'm probably going to be on that number.
I know.
Looking at player props right now, his point total is still at 32. I'm going to be on the under 32 and a half.
You got to. It's just he's going to. That's why people don't hit 500 in baseball, right?
Yeah.
It always comes back with these players, even the
It
best of
comes
the
back
best
to the
of
norm.
the best.
Yeah, he's due for some regression. So, you know what I mean? He had 36, reality is we probably should have hit it last night,
I know. I
but
was
we
gonna say that's
didn't,
2 buckets, and he was
on
taking some really tough contested shots and just making them right. When they do
yep,
that, you got to give it up to him. He took 18 shots for his 36 points. That's
yep, you just
incredible.
say,
Fantastic efficiency. We move on and we take a shot against him again the next time.
yep.
Let's talk about today, Eric. We have 2 games to discuss. First up, we've got the Knicks. We've got the Heat. Massive, massive game here for the Knicks because the Heat are up 2-1, and you just don't, in any of these series, you don't want to go down 3-1. It's so hard to beat your opponent 3 consecutive times. You want to just keep it back and forth as close as possible. So for the Knicks, do they have a shot today? You think so, right? You're locking them in at +4.5.
I liked him at plus 4.5. I rewatched every game, and the one thing that's really stood out to me is Randall. This is going to be a Randall game. If Randall's really going to be this guy that everyone thinks he is in New York, this has to be the game he has to show. Obviously, Brunson banged up a little bit of the ankle. He are throwing bigger defenders on him. He's having a hard time. Randall, that game 3 or game whatever game 2 they won. He looked like he was playing with no fear. He was attacking the rim, and I really think that's the Randall we're going to see today. A lot of these guys who have, no knock on Anthony Davis, but he's kind of like Anthony Davis. He'll have a good game, bad game, good game, bad game. I'm not comparing the two. I'm kind of using it as an analogy.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the good.
Offensively. I always say
for sure.
defensively because defensively,
Yeah.
AD is always good. Offensively, he'll fluctuate.
And then both games, Randall had a double-double. I locked this in. I found 2-1 earlier in the morning.
Great.
He's averaging 13 boards, 17.5 points for the game, for the season, 21 points, 7.5 boards for the Heat. And he's playing with no fear. He put his head down in game 2. He was getting to the rim, getting to the spot. And he literally looked like he had that sense like no one on the Heat can guard him. And if you kind of look at it, they're going to put Butler on Brunson, okay? Now you're out there basically with Max Strus, Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo, and whoever, Kyle Lowry, whoever. You got to figure Bam's going to be on Mitchell Robinson or Isaiah Hartenson. So, I mean, Strus can't guard Randall.
No.
So Randall's going to be able to put his head down. He's going to be able to get the rim. I'm playing the bounce back for him. And I also took the Knicks because that was their worst shooting game of the whole season. They're due for some positive shooting regression. I still don't trust this Heat team. We need to remember, 2 weeks ago? This is a team that lost to Atlanta and was down by 6-8 points to the freaking Chicago Bulls with 4-5 minutes left in the play-in. I mean, they've caught lightning in the bottle. They're playing right, but they don't have Hero. We're going to start to see some regression to the norm. I think we're going to see a little bit more Quentin Grimes minutes. That's going to allow the spacing. They didn't have any props for him up. I was hoping to get maybe a 3-point prop for him just because I expect them to play more, because having him in there will open stuff up more for Brunson. So yeah, I expect a good bounce back spot for him. I like the Knicks plus the points.
Eric, this is one I'm locking in. Can you do me a favor? Can you see if you can find for me a Hart double-double? If you can find that available out there, Josh Hart. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. Josh Hart double-double. I'm going to go over 19.5 points and rebounds for Josh Hart tonight. Josh Hart in this series, he's playing a lot more because you just think about the guys right now that you want out there that you can trust. Brunson, Randall, Hart, other few, right, in the series. Guys like Grimes, guys like Robinson haven't been all that great. But Hart has played 38 minutes. He's taken 11 field goals per game in the series. He's averaging 13 points a game and 10.3 rebounds a game. So right off the bat, that's 23 just on his averages over points and rebounds. He's had double-doubles in both games 2 and 3. And like you were saying, you start matching up everyone that's on the court for Miami. And if you have Butler defending Brunson, if you have Adebayo taking care of the bigs, you have guys like Randall and Hart are going to have a lot more opportunities. Hart actually can handle the ball a little bit too, which is nice. Like he can play make a little bit also. So I think a little bit more from Josh Hart tonight. Eric, I'm going Hart over 19.5 points and rebounds.
I like
Plus 300 for the double-double.
Plus 300 to the double-double. And
yeah.
I'm looking at the betting splits right now between the Knicks and the Heat. Right now, 58% of the money is on the Heat. 58% of the bets, 27% of the money.
So the big money.
42% of the bets are on the Knicks, 73% of the money. So what does that mean? The bigger bets are coming up on the Knicks.
That's the back splits you're looking for to play.
Yeah.
Especially an underdog. When you're looking to play an underdog team like that, where the bigger money's coming in on them, but the number is still sort of moving in the Heat's direction because there's a lot more of the popular smaller bets that are kind of building that up. So, Eric, anything else you want to mention in game one?
No, it's going to be when are the Heat going to have their dud? That's all I want to know. Like,
I know there's got to be one coming.
There has to be. Even when they threw in the white flag, they didn't. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what stuff Tibbs does. I think there's an adjustment he's going to make. That is one of the thrive plays of mine, but I'll save that for later.
Okay, Eric, let's move to game two. We've got the Lakers and we've got the Warriors, and this is a very, very important, pivotal game because it is game 4. The Lakers are up 2-1. Games 2 and 3 now, we've seen big-time blowouts. We've seen the Warriors just beat up the Lakers in game 2, and then the Lakers come back, or in game 3. No, yeah, game 2, excuse me, because that was in Golden State. Game 3, the Lakers come back and beat them up last game. And unfortunately tonight, Scott Foster is going to be the man that will be refereeing this game. And Scott Foster and the Warriors have fantastic success together. Scott Foster is known as the extender when it comes to playoff series because he is someone who continues to show up, make sure that series go a little bit longer. And the way that we'll know, Eric, is these two teams are very opposite in how they play. And the Lakers, it's never a surprise when the Lakers shoot a lot more free throws than Golden State, because that's just the style that the Lakers play. Golden State always shoots a lot more threes. So we'll get an idea early tonight, and I think we kind of saw it in game 2. Officials are humans also. A lot of times after one team gets more foul calls in one game, the next game, whether it be on purpose or not, more of those sort of in-between calls or 50-50 calls either go the other way or just don't get called. I'm not saying they're going to throw the game for Golden State, but I'm saying they're less likely to call as many things in the favor of the Lakers as just got called. In particular, someone like Draymond only played like just over 20 minutes because he got a lot of fouls in that game. I think they'll let him probably stay in the game a little bit longer. They'll probably be less likely to call a cheap one on or two on him. That leads to my only really play in this game, Eric. I'm going over 8.5 for Draymond. It's plus money on this one. And Draymond is one of these guys that does this after sort of bad games or dud games for him where he really struggled. That was another great Anthony Davis game. Draymond wasn't on the court very much. I think he's going to try to score early in this game, mainly because he is someone who has to be out on the court for the Warriors in this series. What we're finding is that they have Steph, they have Clay, they have Wiggins, they have Draymond that they can trust. And that other spot, it's always sort of changing, right? Is it Looney? Is it Poole? It was Green a little bit here and there. Sometimes they can get DiVincenzo for some good minutes to fill in, but they don't really have someone they trust. What that means is they need more offense from Draymond. They can't be in a situation where they're just counting on Clay and Steph so much. Draymond had so many. I rewatched the game the other night, like part of the first half too. I was doing like a watch along with one of the Laker pods that does a really good job and sort of like shows you some footage and game film and stuff. Draymond had a lot of openings that he wasn't taking. And I think if he's seeing the same thing, I mean, he's just going to have a few layups like right at the basket tonight. And he will force the Lakers to adjust a little bit and play him a little more honest and then give Stephen Clay more shots. I'm nervous about this game just because of that. But the only thing, and you've got the Warriors. The only thing is, to me, I feel like the number is still a little low. Like, I feel for both of these teams, it should probably be in the like 4 to 5 range when they're at home against the other team. But tonight, this number it's even down to 2 now, which to me just seems win or lose, right? Golden State can win this game by 20. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form the Lakers can't get beat. We've seen these teams can go back and forth and kick the crap out of each other. It seems like this number is really moving Golden State direction right now. And I don't know if like all of those trends, like the Golden State after a loss, which I'm sure you'll probably mention, and great reasoning for liking Golden State, it feels like those things are really like caught some steam. Now, your number is better than where it is right now. Talk to us about how you see this game playing out today.
Well, my first thing was like, obviously you got to look at AD. AD has been up and down. When he is playing well right now, the Warriors have no answer for him, so he is the best player on the court. If he's going to have that 30 and 20 game, let's be honest, the Warriors really have no one that could combat that. But AD's been really inconsistent this playoffs. We haven't seen that level when they won the championship, where he was having multiple good games in a row. Number two, Lakers don't shoot threes at a high volume. They have guys that can make threes, but I'm banking on some shooting regression. I don't think they're going to make 15 threes in this game. I don't think D'Lo is going to go 5 of 8 from 3-point. I think those are going to come down to a little bit back to the norm. I know that the Warriors were brutal this year, 30% ATS, but in the playoffs, this squad is 68% ATS after a loss. 68% ATS after a loss in the playoffs. And the game has gone under that 76% of the time. And when the Warriors are behind in the series, now granted, there's only been like 20 games, they are 80% ATS when behind in a series. Kerr, in my eyes, top 3 coach in the league. I think we're going to see him tinker the lineup again. I don't know if he's going to go with Poole in the starting lineup.
What would you do? What right now would you suggest if you were talking to him?
I would go Moody, just because I feel you need to have Poole, because you need to stagger Poole and Curry. I'm not saying like I'm not the biggest Jordan Poole guy,
but you need him on the court for 10, 15 minutes in the series, right? Like a few each half, the non-Curry minutes.
And Moody, high school, Arkansas days, G League days, he is a scorer. He made some big threes in game 2, and he's going to force – you're not going to be able to sag off and help. If you only have Green out there –
he has no problem taking those shots when he's open.
Yeah, like no problem. He can get to the rim. He's a little bit more off the dribble. He's a better defender. I think that's the way you go. If Kuminga was a little bit better of a shooter, I'd go with him. But I think you have to go with the kid. I think you have to go with Moody there. And then
we're talking about with Draymond already out there, makes it a little bit more difficult for them, because you can't have – if like now you got Draymond and Kuminga out there again – that's putting a lot of pressure back on your other 3 guys, Clay. And the Lakers are playing like the Lakers have a very good defense, especially when Anthony Davis is locking in right now. Anthony Davis leading the playoffs in blocks, 4.1 per game. He's first in deflections. He had 11 deflections in game 3. He is second in total rebounds. He's first in defensive rebounds. The Lakers are the number 1 defensive rating in the playoffs. And AD is 6th in steals in the playoffs, which is pretty insane.
Or maybe you go
DiVincenzo, right? I think it's one of those 2 guys. I think those are your better options, because they've been they give you enough like size and hustle as well to where like they're better defensive options than Poole.
And Poole just gets a little out of control. I mean, he's a guy that really gets caught up in the moment and does
like what you're saying. He's a time and place guy. You need him more when Steph's not out there.
Yeah,
when Steph's out there, there's so much overlap in the skill set, right? Like you don't need as much of Poole out there. It's especially in this matchup, because the one thing that the Lakers do have, they are pretty big at most of their positions, right? When you have LeBron like size you up. Like even D'Angelo, he's one of those guys that he's not like a Trae Young defensively, because we saw D'Angelo actually have a couple pretty good defensive possessions in the last couple games. He doesn't play all game that way, but in a big moment down the stretch, do you need him to stay in front of someone and just hold his hands up, right? And not be someone you can shoot right over. So then you look at the Lakers all of a sudden when they've got AD and Vanderbilt and LeBron, and then Austin Reeves and D'Lo are both pretty good-sized guards. You know, they're not small guys. So all of a sudden, Poole sometimes, like, he doesn't have the best matchups against some of the Laker starters there, just size-wise. He's a little smaller. So, Erik, all those trends tonight are terrifying for me as a Laker fan. This has been a fantastic series, and I love the fact for the Lakers that they did get an entire fourth quarter again for LeBron and AD to rest with the short turnaround here. And I was reading one of the I think it's like the second spectrum footage, the second spectrum readouts that show how much players run. And like Steph and Clay, as you would imagine, they've run the most miles of any players throughout the playoffs because they're just flying around all throughout. I'm excited though, man. You know what's crazy? And I can't believe it. You know the top 2 betting favorites right now to win the NBA championship are?
I'm gonna guess Warriors. And I'm gonna guess Celtics.
Lakers and Celtics. Well, because just think about it. Before today, the Lakers have a 2-1 advantage, and they have a home game where they're favored. Right? So the Lakers right now, the Boston, I think, is like 9-5, and the Lakers are 4-1 and the second choice because they have a 2-1 advantage where the other series are tied. So the Lakers have that one game ahead, and they could go up 3-1 tonight. So just seeing that on the page, I was like, I couldn't believe it, where the Lakers have been this year and where they were just a few weeks ago. Right now, they are actually the second choice and the favorite in the Western Conference to make the NBA Finals. Anthony,
which is crazy,
right? Crazy. And then tonight, if Golden State were to win, they would jump ahead of the Lakers because then Golden State would have home games in 2 of the final 3. So, and they would be favored in those games. So they would flip to the second choice. But really, really crazy to see that and how things have changed. What a big game tonight, Erik. How much this series flips the difference between 3-1, 2-2, where Golden State feels like they got all the momentum going back home.
That's why I don't know. Like, you have to respect the championship pedigree. Like, some of the adjustments Ham has made has been great, but Kerr's been there. He's done that, and you just gotta kind of,
you expect it. You expect that it's coming, and he has pieces to play. The Lakers do also, but it's funny. This is sort of like the game now where it's like in a fight, punch back. We saw that game 1. Game 2, Warriors made the adjustments. Game 3, Lakers made the adjustments. They took Anthony Davis and had him on JaMychal Green. They put Vanderbilt on Draymond, and it made things more difficult. Draymond, he was blowing up some of the screens and the handoffs there, and Vanderbilt. So it took them a little while. Now Draymond, he's smart. Steph is smart. It's not as if these combinations of players on the Warriors are going to see something that they've never seen before, right? They're prepared for whatever you've thrown at them. They've seen it all. But sometimes you run into players who can just really execute well. And like you said, the key is Anthony Davis, even more for me than scoring 30, is he dominant in the paint, like scaring people off like he is in these games when you're watching him going, wow, how impactful is he there? Because if he's doing that, it just shuts the whole paint down for them. And they're not a team that attacks the paint much as it is. So it makes the Lakers' job defending them much easier. Not like they're going to for sure win or anything, but just knowing a team can only shoot the 3 and you have players who can step out on them. Like, that's what it's going to come down to again tonight. What adjustments does Kerr have? And will we see another big a defensive stopper performance from Anthony Davis. Erik, buddy, anything else you want to mention about these games before we talk a little Thrive Fantasy?
There is a trend where it's if the team covers, they win. I said it yesterday. If you like the Warriors here and you like the Knicks, you should probably parlay the two money lines at a small price.
Yeah, absolutely. Always try to find the best value that you can. And we find great value over at Thrive Fantasy because when we look at the prop lobby, Erik, so this is thrivefantasy.com. It's a website. It's a daily fantasy website. What's really fun about it is there's all sorts of different contest formats you can play. So if you want to play in a basketball game tonight, it's a $20 entry fee, $2,000 prizes, and there's only 115 entries. You're not playing against thousands of other entries and bots. Look, tonight's baseball contest, $1,000 prize pool, 55 entries. They pay out top positions. In the basketball game, they pay out the top 25 positions. They have hockey. They have golf. If you want to play head-to-head games, you can do those as well for bigger prizes. Or you can dive into the prop lobby, which we love, because the prop lobby here gives you the opportunity to parlay props and get better value than you would if you played a normal parlay of props anywhere else. 2-prop parlay, 3.2 times your entry. If you get 3 out of 3, 5.2 times your entry. A 4-prop parlay, 10.2 times. 5, 20.2 times your entry. Erik, I've got 2 tonight. I played one little parlay with the 2 of them together. How about for you?
I got 2 of them I like. The first one is I kind of hinted at it. I think there's going to be some big adjustment Tibbs makes. I think the adjustment that Tibbs makes is we're going to see less of Mitchell Robinson. Okay. So I did Mitchell Robinson under 2.5 blocks. I think we're going to see more Isaiah Hartenstein. We've seen the last couple of games. We've seen his minutes drop. That in Mitchell Robinson. So I'm going to bank on that trend to continue. So Mitchell Robinson under 2.5 blocks. My next one, and look, I'm sorry to do this to you, going AD under 27.5 points and rebounds. I really think Kerr is going to make it a mission for him not to get his and look to take him away. With that being said, he's not that playmaker. If for him to go over this, I feel he needs to have 24 points. But I feel that the Warriors win the game. I feel if AD has over 24 points, Lakers are going to win. So just on my capping alone, I just think that they're going to keep him here, and I think Kerr is going to have a plan to keep him under.
Okay, so 27.5 points and assists for AD, right?
Under 27.5 points
and assists. The one guy we didn't talk a whole lot about when we were doing our analysis for the game, and I'm a little worried about him, Erik, because it's sort of a tough spot for him here, is Austin Reeves. He seems like he's just a little tired. It's his only second year in the NBA. He's played more minutes. Down the stretch, he was playing heavy minutes, especially when LeBron was out and they moved Austin Reeves into the starting lineup. And he's one of those guys who always plays hard. Every minute that he's out there, he dives for loose balls, sets good screens. He drives the lane. So he's not just standing out shooting threes. I think he might have some tired legs right now. His jumpers and everything look a little bit short. I'm just a little worried. Just wanted to mention I didn't have anything for Austin, but my 2 in here, I put together a little prop parlay. And the 2 that I have for tonight, Draymond Green over the 8.5 points. Josh Hart over 23.5 points, rebounds, assists. I went the full combo for Hart for $25. That would get me back $80. So I parlayed those 2 up, Erik, and let's see if we can cash. Make sure everyone, when you head to thrivefantasy.com and you deposit, use the promo code GINO. It'll get you a match deposit bonus all the way up to $250, 4-time rollover on that. I'll have a lot of fun playing in these Thrive Fantasy games. Just about finishing up, buddy. Final words?
Hopefully get some good games. It's going to be interesting to see how the Knicks and the Warriors, come back after what happened on Saturday. And, hopefully we can get some winners and continue our winning ways.
What would be perfect, because Erik didn't dish out the Warriors money line tonight. It would be great for us. It's not going to be great for my heart rate and the possible gray hairs in the years on my life. But a Lakers by 1 or by 2 would be great for Erik, and cash Erik's wager right here, and also get me a Lakers win. So maybe we can do that, and it can be good for everyone. Probably not for my son trying to get to bed tonight either, as I'm yelling and screaming during that game if it were close all the way down and ended up being like a 1 or 2 point win. Erik, buddy.
That would.
Yeah, that would be great, right? That'd be great. Well, let's see if we can pull a rabbit out of our hat and have a good night for everyone. Good luck to you, my friend. We will be back here tomorrow. So I believe, hadn't looked ahead, but I think we're on the just every other day sort of schedule.
Yep, we're on every other day right now.
Yeah, so we'll have our other 2 games on Tuesday to discuss with the 76ers Celtics at 7:30, and then Suns at Nuggets at 10 o'clock back in Denver. We'll see you all tomorrow, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, for more Fast Break Bets.